Hi there, I'm Scott Gerber, and this is my education website. When I've provided friends with demonstrations of this school report, they've been surprised at the amount of information this report contains. Now I'm providing you with a similar demonstration. Before we go too far, you'll want to expand the screen in this video so that you can see the numbers clearer. Just go to the bottom of the screen, click the gear, select 1080p HD, and then click on the full screen. I'll wait just a second for you to do that. Okay, now I think we're ready. We'll use Miami Trace as the example today because I graduated from Miami Trace. Yes, this is me. That's real hair. And yes, this is real polyester. Miami Trace is located in the southwestern portion of the state. It's primarily a rural school with a few small towns that include Bloomingburg and Jeffersonville. If you've traveled on I-71, you've probably seen the exit signs for those two small towns. Miami Trace is here, and our rival school, Washington Courthouse, is here. We'll first look at the performance index score for Miami Trace. Keeping in mind that 120 is a perfect score, and 100 is proficient, Miami Trace has done a good job in the past, and it's getting a bit better. Also note that for whatever reason, most schools did better in 2011 than in other years. Scrolling down the page, you see the performance index score for each of the individual subjects. Miami Trace has done especially well in math. Scrolling down a bit further, this portion of the graph shows the percentage of students who scored proficient or better on each of the subject tests. These numbers will largely match what the Ohio Department of Education has on its report card for Miami Trace for the 2014 school year. But this report is only for the 10th graders. Note that Miami Trace is no different than most schools, where it's easier for students to be proficient in the subjectively graded writing subject test. Also note that science is the hardest subject test for students to be proficient in. The two graphs above show the percentage of students who scored accelerated and better and advanced. As we scroll further down the page, we can see that Miami Trace is doing a better job of getting all their students to pass all 5 portions of the Ohio graduation test. The size of Miami Trace's 10th grade classes has remained steady over the years. The median number of all 1,000 schools in my analysis is 101, so Miami Trace's 10th grade class for this year is about 50% larger. Of course, everything is relative to other things. That's why I include league comparisons. Miami Trace is part of the South Central Ohio League, and most of these schools have similar socioeconomic profiles. There are also intense sport rivals, and many of the dads will know everything about the athletic programs in the other schools. They know which school was strongest in football and who the leading scorer in basketball for each school will likely be. What they don't know is how each school is performing academically, and that's the purpose of this website. The parents and students at Miami Trace may be aware that their school is performing better, but they may not be aware that London has made even greater strides. Let's quickly check out London. Look at this smooth upward trend in all the various subjects. Miami Trace parents should be asking, what is London doing better? Okay, now let's move on to what's perhaps the most valuable portion of this report. And that's the statewide rankings in each subject. The way this works is that each of the subject performance index scores above are ranked for all schools. So, readers can compare how each school performs versus the other schools in its league, and how the same, and here I'm stressing the word same, students perform in each of the subjects. So from this, it's clear that Miami Trace's math department is performing better relative to the other subjects, both for this year and for previous years. You can also see how we performed versus Washington Courthouse. Educators tend to use quartiles to explain how their schools perform. I think that sugarcoats the results. Some parents may be pleased to hear that their school was in the top quartile in mathematics, but they may feel differently when they see that their school is ranked 249th. I'd rather use actual numbers because this would have certainly gotten my attention when I was in high school. For me, I went to Ohio State and I thought I was well prepared, but I really wasn't, not in comparison with my OSU classmates from other schools. I was a strong high school math student, but when I got to Ohio State, I found that the material that was new to me was review work for others. I got through it, but not as well as my classmates. This is a major point of this website. I want to recognize the best schools, but I also want to help the kids know where they stand versus the kids from other schools. Just to hammer this point home, let's quickly look at one of the Columbus City schools that finally, and I want to stress finally, went out of business, and that's Brookhaven. For a Brookhaven student who is very proud that she received a B in math, what would that B equate to at Miami Trace? A C maybe? How about at a Dublin Jerome? Perhaps an F? When I regularly read newspaper articles where B students from really weak schools want to major in pre-med in college, they have absolutely no idea whatsoever how far behind they are versus their better prepared college classmates. Again, that's the benefit of this website. A big takeaway from this is that these reports were created to get you to ask more questions about your school. They certainly aren't the end-all, but my questions from looking at this report from Miami Trace are, why are the Miami Trace students performing better in math than in other subjects? And what has led to London's smooth performance improvements? And just as I include in other reports, if you're using this information to identify a high school for your child, that's good, but I can't stress enough that this data should only be used as a starting point. You need to talk with recent graduates and their parents and find out how well prepared they were for college. You need to check out the kids and cars in the parking lot as they leave for the day. You need to attend a couple of basketball and football games to see the kids and parents in action. And finally, you need to find out if the high-achieving kids are respected or if they're ridiculed at the school. Feel free to send me a feedback if you have any questions. Hope you find this report to be helpful as you perform your own research. And no Gerber Analytics video is complete until I talk about my Ohio high school tennis website. I created OhioTennisZone.com to recognize high school tennis players. It includes all of the match results for the Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland areas. The site also includes more tennis photo coverage than all Ohio newspapers combined. So please check it out and tell your AD that your tennis team needs it. And as a side comment, I'm guessing that your tennis players also boost your school's performance index scores. Again, that's OhioTennisZone.com.